It's been 3 months ago, huh? Oh hey everyone, Azo here. If you don't know or never watched any of my video, I talk, let's be honest here, complaining about topic I find interesting in gacha game I play. And one of the topic I find interesting is game design. Also, if you heard this sounds or wind go into the mic, I'm sorry. I have to rely on the fan to keep me not getting cooked in the heat of summer in C region. As you can see, I am very late to the party. At this point, it's kind of my trademark now. But there are reasons for that. 1. I am an easily influenced individual. 2. The drama surrounding this video was insane. And I don't want my opinion to be influenced by other people. So I wait for a really long time until there is no drama surrounding it to muddy the water. 実は先輩がこのトピックを忘れたのですね。Just ignore that guy. And there are other things that I think kinda relate to the topic War has brought up, which is the team building problem in Wuthering Waves. There will also be some other point in this video too. That is what I'm trying to say. And I'll be going through them first to set where I come from. But if you want to hear just particular topic, feel free to refer to this table of content, which will also be in description. I think a lot of people might have said, oh, Genshin Abyss is easy. And you have probably also heard many people say, Wuthering Waves is really hard. But I have a confession to make. I have never been able to 36 stars Genshin Abyss. I had to ask my friend to clear it for me. But I have no problem with Wuthering Waves TOA. I have 30 stars on my own for 2, 3 or more rounds now. I can't remember. Does this mean Genshin is harder than Meijo and I have skill issue? Not necessarily, and yes, I have skill issue. Massive skill issue. It's my answer to those questions. Now, please don't twist my word or experience into this guy just said Genshin is harder than WuWa. Because both games go about difficulty in a different way. Why did I have to go into a long-winded rambling before saying my point? Because I like to yap and I don't want to possibly start another gacha tribal war. But mainly, I like to yap. My yapping tendency aside, I did give a small comparison in this video and pretty much talk shit about Genshin combat design, but in all fairness, Genshin will never be a game for me for one reason. Genshin combat is just a huge knowledge check. Despite Genshin being an action RPG, the combat feels more like an RPG than an action game, with how much the game relies on buff and debuffs, including the elemental reaction system, because in my opinion, it is just a glorified debuff system and I will die on this hill. Which isn't a bad thing, by the way. It's a valid design choice to emphasize on either action or RPG elements. It is because of that we have great titles like Soulsborne, Monhunt and many more for people to choose in action RPG genre. But for me, Genshin just leaned too much into RPG elements with heavy buff and debuff reliant combat. There are simply way too many things for my monkey brain to keep track of. ICD, strong elements, weak elements, reaction, reverse reaction, elemental replication, buff and debuff relation, circle impact, enemy position, and... 何があったんですか, senpai? I'm thinking if there is something I missed, but whatever. If I forgot about it, it probably is important. Oh yeah, energy economy! The thing with Genshin combat design is less about how do you execute it, but more of a when do you execute it. I'm not saying there is no how, but the when is just more important. And I am a very impatient person. I need something to keep me engaged with the game, whether it is with harsh punishment, complicated long-ass input, cool-looking attacks stem from previously mentioned complicated long-ass input, free-flow combat with various console route, fast movement, parrying, perfect dodge, sense of progression, or just style meter go up. So having to wait for the perfect window to maximize damage is just not fun for me. Objectively, this isn't a bad design. I repeat, objectively, this is not a bad design, but subjectively, this isn't fun for me. I don't like it, therefore I think it is hard. Meijo is kind of the opposite of Genshin. There's still buff timing involved, but it's not that important. Wuthering Waves is more about moment-to-moment combat. You can feel this from many ways of animation cancel. By many, I meant relative Genshin, and by the way, this isn't a diss at Genshin. Besides Ultimate, or Recent Liberation, player never gets animation locked to the point the characters has to finish any particular animation first before the player can control their units again. And coupled with the game also highly encourage and reward perfect dodge and parry, Major combat is more of a how do you execute it, or simply put, Major leaning into action more than RPG. Now, to the actual meat of the video, of the thing I clickbaited. To say this is War's most divisive video would be an understatement. I have never seen an almost 50-50 like-dislike ratio like this before. And for the record, I'm agreeing with his point. Well, one of his points, which I'll address later, but I think it is worth discussing his reasoning first. While Wars has a point and all of his reasoning is valid, but some of his reasoning can sound like it's irrelevant to Wuthering Waves for some people, it's probably because he views Wuthering Waves through RPG gacha games lens. And let me say this again, it isn't a bad thing or wrong way to approach this. However, I feel like that isn't the entire picture. I'm of course talking about action game aspect of Major. He addressed the action game aspect, but it feels more like a footnote than actual point. Action game is a very broad term as it has a lot of overlap and subgenres, but for Wuthering Waves, I think it's safe to use Devil May Cry. Not that I think about it, Bayonetta work too. As analogy, consider Kuro seems to really like this franchise. Me too. There are a lot of stuff to talk about Devil May Cry, but starting with style meter is the best way to go at it. We all know and understand what a style meter is, a visualization of your performance. Generally, this system doesn't favor players spam the same move over and over again, as you can see from the footage. So, the player has to mix up their plethora of moves or change to another weapon for different attacks. This encouragement leads to endless possible flashy, cool and creative combo, although it depends on each player, and as you can see, I am not that good. Even when I play this game every day religiously, and I haven't played DMC5 for 2 or 3 years now, so I've gotten really rusty. Each weapon in Devil May Cry, specifically Isino Trilogy, I don't know about 1 and 2 because I have never played those games, have their own moveset that is good for a different purpose. Gap Closer, Launcher, Extender, Big PP Damage, keep your characters airborne, Hyper Armor, Easy Parry, made to stun or break enemy stance, Crowd Control, and the list go on and on and on. Sometimes there will be overlap of usage and purpose between 2 weapons in one character. At that point, what is the incentive to go for one move over the other? Well, you can choose based on damage. You can go for a move that put you in a position that is easier to continue your combo, or you just like certain move animations. All of them are valid choice. It all depends on player's expression. Let's look at Major with this context. Sure, Major doesn't have the star meter or weapon swap. However, let's treat one character in Wuthering Waves as one weapon in Devil May Cry. I know it sounds hard, but no characters in this game even come close to complexity of Neo Red Queen. Wuthering Waves team building approach that War has talked about.
The impression I get from WuWa is that it's just mostly individual units being put together, purely for the sake of it being convenient to do so, not necessarily having actual synergistic playstyles.
Starting to make a lot of sense. Character kit in this game is made for different things in mind. Some is made to launch enemy, or well, can launch enemy, some can do air combo, some can extend air time for both player, characters and enemy, some made for movement or repositioning, heal, parry, crowd control, similar to weapon in Devil May Cry. So it's up to each player to decide what they want with the team, whether it's damage, playstyle, combo / juggling potential, or I just like this animation. All are valid reason and incentive to choose one character over other units. And why does player expression matter? Because different players value different things and have different skill ceiling and floor, and different level of hands-eye coordination. I think Kuro went with this approach because they might be worried about, by giving incentive, it looked back to feels like player being forced to play certain team in a certain way with specific party members. And if you, my imaginary, non-existent, wonderful viewer, are worried random bullshit goal will lead to suboptimal play which can result in losing gacha currency in the endgame content, then hear me out. Optimal combo and rotation is just a social construct. That is... that is a bit tone deaf considering this is my main team. And my Changli is Resonant Chain 2 with signature. But if there are some mad lads still capable of using Calculator Man to solo TOA, I don't think trying to pull a sick looking combo on the final TOA floor would cost you more than 100 asteroids. One thing that I agree with Vars is this.
What I am saying is that they need to add more universal mechanics to encourage the use of different characters and add more layers to team building than just outro skill deepens.
But just agree alone isn't that fun, so here is the couple of additional universal mechanic. First is tag system. To simply put, this is just an assist from other teammate in a game like MVC or Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. The catch is, this system will use Consider Gauge as a resource. Also, the assist can get Happy Birthday. Before Consider Gauge are fully filled, player can hold input for one specific off-field party member. After release the button, part of the Consider Gauge will be consumed. The cost is 45, 50, and 75. Depending on characters, and the selected unit will come out and do assist attack. Generally, the higher the cost, the higher the damage. This assist attack will not provide any buff. It will only offer off-field combat benefits such as launch enemy into the air, knockdown, stunt, time slow, push, long and lingering active hitbox for parrying. After an on-field unit use assist, Consider Gauge gaining efficiency of the on-field unit will be reduced by 40% for 15 seconds. This part is here purely because I don't know how broken it can be, so I might as well put some sort of limiter on it. The other idea I have is style meter. It raised by attack enemy, perfect dodge, outro, intro. However, being hit when shielded will decrease style meter less than being hit when unshielded. On S rank and above, characters will gain certain perks such as being able to inflict elemental ailment through normal attack, or certain move will deal more damage and or gain new property. To put a stop on my own ego, these two ideas probably very likely wouldn't fit with Vars' point since it doesn't provide people with incentive to go for certain characters over other, nor do they really distinct characters' roles or niche. Just to be clear, I am not trying to be condescending. However, I wholeheartedly believe that giving players incentives to choose certain characters isn't critical, or at least has a low compatibility with this game due to design choice. It's simply a matter of compromise. By giving incentive for player to do certain thing, it might or can influence player to develop a narrow view for certain tools or mechanic, lessening some players' agency or expression. I would have known I am that player. That is not to say incentive and player freedom of expression can coexist in the same game, because it can. And I'm not projecting myself onto everyone, as I'm not a creative nor imaginative person. Self-loathing aside, I think it is a high time for me to give my take on Whimpering Wastes. Conceptually, it's fine. We have a mix of AoE and single target scenario in TOA, so AoE check game mode isn't that weird of direction to go into if Kuro aim is to give units a niche and grow through various combat environments. But there are a couple of problems for Whimpering Wastes as a game mode. 1. This is a big curveball thrown at the unexpecting player since players still focus on TOA and whatnot. 2. Every single damage dealer unit, with the exception of Ori, has AoE capability built into them. Okay, maybe Halter is a bit of a stretch, but if you're good enough, she should be able to handle it, but I don't know since I have massive skill issue. Thus, there isn't much to differentiate these units besides their elements. A point that Vars absolutely nailed it. Before I move on to my third point, I would like to clarify something. My first point is talking about possible reason why many people don't like Whimpering Wastes. The second point is about if Kuro try to fix team building aspect through Whimpering Wastes. Because if they kind of fail at that. I know it's a weird structure, but I just wrote everything that popped into my head at this point. Okay, from now on, it's actually my gripes. 3. Crowd control abilities such as Yang Yang and Genshin Recent Liberation feel even more useless in this mode when it's supposed to be a perfect tool to counter enemy tendency to scatter all over the place, especially those damn ranged units! Since I already mentioned it. 4. The enemy AI and how tanky they are. There is nothing wrong with the range unit trying to get away from you, or melee unit don't just rush B to your ass. It's a hallmark of a decent AI. But the problem is, this behavior often can lead to enemies scattered all over the arena. And as I mentioned in the third point, that we can kind of do something between fuck and all about scattered enemy, we only have one option left. Kill them ASAP before it becomes a clean-up game, which isn't something I want in the endgame content, nor it is the best way to go about it. Just to be clear, again, I'm not saying the enemy in Whimpering West shouldn't be tanky, nor they shouldn't try to get away from you. But having only solution to just kill them fast because CC ability doesn't do its job just feels bad. The fifth point is a bit of a nitpick, but I wish a gold buff would be more generic like the blue one from the first round of Whimpering West. The trick intro skill buff, Resonance Liberation. Wait, is it intro or outro again? But just like TOA, I think after like 3 or 4 patches, the complaint would gradually die down due to players start to adapt to Whimpering West with either strong lineup of AoE nukers or getting used to enemy AI to the point of capable of manipulating them, or Kuro may change to Whimpering West, or all the above. In the end, I don't think Vars is wrong about major team building, and the future of Wuthering Waves is still unknown purely because I can't see any direction Kuro is trying to go. Maybe we might have to wait until Sunny is released to know. Kuro tried to branch out through a new archetype with elemental element, but I want to know where would they take the system and how they would build upon it. I mean, look at PTR. This is one Shi first frame. A simple counter unit. This is his newest frame. Have fun reading all of this!
戦の道筋、状況を把握できてるかな？逃げも隠れもさせないよ。じゃあこれが僕の選択だ。逃げも隠れもさせないよ。
Or this is the main character's old S rank frame.
私の指揮官の翼退きなさい。この一撃でカラスマよ、私の刃になってください。
And this is her newest frame.
それ集え暁の光。カラスバのように輝け、黎明のように貫け。行け、紅蓮のように咲き乱れろ。彼方まで超え行け。
So, yeah, I am very interested with their direction and gameplay design, but what do you guys think about the future of Wuthering Waves? Should they implement an RPG-oriented design going forward for character kit design? What universal mechanic could benefit Wuthering Waves? How do you guys feel about Whimpering West? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Since I am a very small channel, I can read every comment. That's it from me. Thank you very much for bearing with me until this point. I wish you all to have a good night and a great day ahead of you. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!